Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Timeout with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azalina, I am Derek Gano, and we are here to talk some postseason baseball, which has already arrived, and look for this to be up on our new Facebook page. Please look on Timeout with Derek and Joe on, you most likely received an invite, but you can look out Timeout with Derek and Joe. This will be put up on our new Facebook page, as well as both of our pages to start. But we will be going into the postseason baseball bracket and our initial reactions. Correct, Joe?
Correct. We're going to be doing a playoff look here for the first round, which is called the wild card round. And because of the shortened season, they're doing a 3-game series, which is going to be very intriguing, which we'll get to in a little bit also as we give you our predictions and or talk about the playoffs. But 3-game series, and the higher seed will be the home team for all 3 games. So that's going to be interesting. No traveling back and forth. And I'm assuming it's more of a COVID stipulation that they're doing all the travel. So Derek, that's that, and let's get into talking some MLB here for the first match.
Absolutely. So we will show the bracket in the next couple minutes here, showing where all the different stadiums will be played at in the division series and whatnot. But first, we're going to be taking a look at where the standings finished up. Now, these aren't necessarily the actual seedings of these teams. It is more just where they finished in terms of win percentage, I guess. Now you'll see, we kind of knew from, I guess that was a couple weeks now ago, where we were looking at the current playoff picture for the MLB, and the AL American League was pretty well set up. We were both pretty convinced that none of those teams that were left out were were going to make their way in, right? I think I put you on the spot, and and maybe we said the Mariners or whatnot, but so the Mariners were the first team left out, and that was you'll see Houston will actually be the number 6 seed because it is going in order of the teams that won the division, followed by the second place teams, followed by the 2 remaining best records. So while Houston is 29 and 31 overall, they will be the number 6 seed. Any teams, I know, like I said, we already talked about them a couple weeks ago, but any teams that really surprised us this year, Joe, that didn't really make it a fight to get into the playoffs?
I mean, just looking, your Mariners didn't do awful. If you look at the seedings, they're 27 wins, and they only had, I guess if you really, really look into it, maybe the runs scored isn't a very good number. You don't see, to answer your question in a direct way, no, there's no real surprises. But some of these matchups are intriguing in both leagues, I think. But no, yeah. Kansas City and Seattle, not really ready to tango. And the Angels in Baltimore, even though some good things, like Trout misses another playoff, big surprise. And the Red Sox, they got a lot of work to do. So, yeah, these other teams, though, it's going to be a real interesting, a lot of interesting matchups, I should say.
I guess it is interesting to see that the Toronto Blue Jays are the only team with a negative run differential, even less than the Houston Astros, who finished 2 games under 500 or a game under 500. But yeah, no real surprises there. Now Tampa Bay is obviously the number 1 slot, but we'll get into the specifics of the bracket in just a little bit. We just wanted to show where each team finished, and the AL did not have a lot of suspense, at least in terms of what the National League showed us. So we'll move down to the National League here. And while one team seemed to completely run away with it, towards the bottom, there were quite a few teams fighting for the last few slots into the playoffs. Would you like to talk about that, Joe, or is that kind of a soft spot?
Yeah, well, I have to say the Pirates definitely,
Well,
they were the opposite of what LA was, right? No, I mean, the Nationals are a surprise in honesty, right? They won the World Series last year. You let go of Rendon, the really good third baseman and probably MVP candidate last year. He moves to Anaheim. Their pitching wasn't as good, but then Strasburg gets hurt. So Washington, a little bit of a surprise. New York, though, I didn't think they were that good. The lineup is very good. The pitching, a little bit to be desired. I think that's where they fell off. Colorado, didn't watch them a lot, to be totally honest. Derek, I said 2 weeks ago, if this was going to be the case, if I was going to be on a show right now, like I am, that I'm going to point back to Miami, home against New York, and over in Washington. Mm-hmm. And we needed 2 wins out of 8, and that's out of a 3 out of 4 against Toronto. And the Phils couldn't get it done, so they don't deserve to be in it. It's sad as a Phillies fan, but they didn't deserve to be there. Lack of bullpen arms, of course, and there's a lot more to go into that, as maybe we'll go into in the off season to talk about. But yeah, the Giants and Brewers, Milwaukee, you know what? Christian Yelich is going to get hot. I don't want to spoil my own prediction, but the Brewers might be all right if they get pitching. But yeah, I mean, Giants fell flat on their face too. Like, you got to win it this time of year, especially in shortened season.
Yeah, and I will give you credit if people go back a couple episodes. I put you on the spot. I said, give me a team outside of the current playoff picture. Who's going to get in? Who are they going to knock out? You gave me the Milwaukee Brewers, who were out, and you said they're going to knock out the Giants. You said the Miami Marlins would get in over the Phillies. You hit both of them. So, I mean, granted, you're probably not happy you were correct, but how many people in the beginning of the season said the Miami Marlins were going to finish over the Phillies, over the Mets, over the Nationals, and make the playoffs? They've set up a great team there. They got a lot of young hitters. It may be a tough matchup to start, but just getting there is a tip of the cap to Don Mattingly out there. And now Milwaukee, as you said, yeah, they slipped in. It was down to the last day between Milwaukee and San Francisco and the Phillies, and I think even maybe the Cardinals could have slipped out there. But one team had to win and the other 2 lose. Well, all 3 lost. Between the Phillies, the Giants, and the Brewers. So the Brewers slipped in under 500. They are the second under 500 team in the playoffs, with the Houston Astros over in the American League. So we're just going to go off. Go ahead, Joe.
One thing about Milwaukee, they don't really have a good pitching staff. I can't, unless I'm looking at something, I can't name you two of their 5 starters. I know Woodruff is one. I know that name. But other than that, I didn't get to see him a lot this year. But again, led by their offense, they're going to probably do a little damage, but they got a tough start, of course, as we're going to mention. But no, I just had a feeling they're a good team. They've been there with 2 before. They know how to win with Counsell as the manager. So, it is really good. I keep saying intriguing. I don't know if there's another word for it. It is going to be really intriguing.
Well, that brings us to here's what the playoff brackets look like. And we're going to give you our predictions for each of the wild card series matchups. Look for, in a few days, we'll be coming out with our ALDS and further on with a special guest to come on and pick with us. Had some differences here. As we said, the home team is going to be the home team for all three games. There's no going back and forth, and it is only 3 games in comparison to normal years where it is 5. So you never know. More than any other year, you never know what can happen. So we're going to start here up in the top left of the bracket. That is the NL side, or the AL side, excuse me. And that is the number 1 seed Tampa Bay Rays and the number 8 seed Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Joe, I think this is the only one where the teams have played each other a bunch of times already this year. I think that's the only situation in any of them. So they are very familiar with one another. Who do you think has who's going to move forward here with the Rays and the Blue Jays?
Listen, I like Toronto. That's not my pick, but I'll just say quickly. I like Toronto, but they're really young. Biggio, Guerrero, those names are familiar to fans out there that follow baseball. Both dads played and both Hall of Famers. And Dante Bichette's son, Bo, is also there. Really good players. Just a little too much on the other side, I believe. The arms for Tampa are going to be really good, and they have some good bats in Joey Wendell and Arezarona. I pronounced that right. And a good catcher in Zunino. Got people, again, you don't know about the Rays until you see them. Low payroll, but really good team. I take Tampa in this in 2 games.
Now, and I think the difference is, I agree with the Rays in Snell and Tyler Glasnow, who, if people haven't seen him pitch, big, lanky, and difficult to pick up the ball from the start. Yeah, the Pirates. I'm not sure who they traded him for, but
I don't either. No.
Yeah, it's and that's tough. I know. So the Blue Jays are doing a questionable now. Hyunjin Ryu, who came over from the Dodgers, has been far and away one of their better pitchers, but he's actually pitching in the second game. So it's almost like you think, well, maybe they're kind of giving away the first one and they're going to really go for the second one. And then they have my boy, Matt Schumacher is going to be starting in the first game, which is interesting. I thought maybe it could have been Taijuan Walker, who came over from my Mariners, has been pitching very well.
Tanner Roark is there too.
Yep.
The veteran guy that's been around,
Yeah. Now, and I think that's the reason why the Rays win is the starting pitching. They've won 12 out of their last 16. They're playing very well at the right time. I agree. Give me the Rays in 2. And I think they move on past the Toronto Blue Jays.
Also, they're playing in Tampa for that series. I heard during the Philly series a really interesting thing. The Rays don't even like to hit in their own stadium. Figure that out. It's maybe the dome, the lighting, whatever it is. And game 3 for Tampa, keep your eye on Charlie Morton. He's another good starter the Rays have.
Yes. So. I think if it comes down to it, that also gives me thinking that the Rays would pull it out in game 3 because Charlie Morton
pretty good
has been there with the Astros. So
right.
Who they will be playing will be either the number 4 seeded Cleveland Indians or the number 5 seeded New York Yankees. Now, I'll start with the Yankees. A very interesting road the past month here. They went on a 10-game win streak, and then they finished up the season at 2-6, which is the opposite direction of where you want to finish. You want to finish hot. Whereas the Indians have won 9 of their last 11, so they're kind of going in different directions.
Yeah, and it's really hard because, you can say, Garrett Cole tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Cleveland. the Indians really do need to find a way to beat them, because if they don't, you're looking at, you got to win game 2, because then you're, in a 3-game series, this is what's going to be exciting, right? I'll tell you right now, if New York's bats are healthy, Judge, Stanton, etc., they're going to be tough. But can Tanaka and Happ or Montgomery or whoever else you throw out there in game 3 get the job done? Derek, I like Cleveland in 3. Plesac, Bieber, Carrasco, that's the rotation. Cesar Hernandez, good second baseman. Santana at first. They have a really good team, and Terry Francona knows how to win in the postseason. So I say Cleveland in 3 here.
The only thing that scared me is a little bit is the Cleveland bats haven't they aren't amazing looking, right? You do have Lindor and Jose Ramirez up top there, Cesar Hernandez, former Philly, but does very much else scare you? Not really. And now I took them anyway, and that is strictly because of the pitching that they have. Yeah. And you said it, 3 of the best starters really in the AL. I think they're going to go Bieber, then Carrasco, then Plesac. And while I do think the Yankees pull one out with Garrett Cole, because Garrett Cole has been around and been in these games, whereas even though the Cy Young favorite probably with Bieber coming into it, it's his first time around the block, so you never know. So I think the Yankees do pull out game 1, but I don't think they pull out the next 2. And I think it comes down to someone like a Jay Happ who needs to get them a win, and I don't think that happens.
You imagine if Cleveland does eke out game 1, though, how much Yankee fans,
a lot of pressure.
They're going to be feeling it, because there's no Yankee Stadium. There's no, there's just not a lot of intrigue behind New York this year. But no, I don't know. Cleveland screams big run for me. I'm not spoiling anything yet, but they're a big run. I'm telling you, if they get a hot, man, this could be an interesting team to watch.
So we both have the Rays and the Indians moving through. Our next matchup here is the number 3 Minnesota Twins and the number 6 Houston Astros. Now, again, the Houston Astros, they are 8-6. This is a big number, but 8-16 in the last 24, whereas the Twins are 5-2 in the last 7. Do the Twins have enough pitching? They have the big bats. Do the Astros? What's the Astros angle? I guess a little redemption-wise, right, to build up their name a little bit.
I mean, people are forgetting that they do have Altuve. They have George Springer, free agent, by the way. My eyes on him, by the way. Springer, Altuve. They have Correa. They have a lot of players that other teams would want. Let's put it that way. But Derek, I don't even know if I know who their number 2 is. Like, Greinke's there. Cole left.
It's probably McCullers, but
average, right? At best,
he's iffy.
Right. They're going to need someone to step up. And I'll tell you, you made a good point on one other show. If you go look back on our new Facebook page and hear the Timeout show, Derek did mention a great point. Minnesota strikes out a lot. And led by third baseman or DH Josh Donaldson, as much as he helped Atlanta last year, you also saw them hurt by that when the Cardinals got a hold of them. If Houston can find a way to kind of, stabilize the lineup with Sano and Donaldson and et maybe Houston has a chance here. But I have Minnesota in 3.
I think the key is going to be former Mariner Nelson Cruz. I think Nelson Cruz is going to be the guy in this that really moves them along. Now, they have the guys who you just like Byron Buxton, who you really just want them to get going, but they have enough there. Eddie Rosario, Max Kepler up at the top of the lineup, Donaldson, you mentioned Cruz, Sano when he's not striking out. Now McCullers is a big strikeout pitcher, so we'll see where that goes. I think that's the game that they win. I think Kenta Maeda, who is probably, if he was not on that loaded staff with the Dodgers for all those years,
those guys,
he's a top ace type pitcher.
Yeah, I take Maeda. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah.
I think they win that game one. I think McCullers comes back and maybe shuts them down game two. And now who pitches game three? I know the Twins have Michael Pineda, who is a good option there. So I think the Twins, I agree. Yeah, they pull out game three.
We can't forget about Bregman. I said Altuve, Correa, and Bregman's so good. So they got the bats. Listen, if Houston makes it out of that first series, look out, because the Astros.
You never know.
Revenge. I don't want to see LA Houston, but Houston might be able to do damage. So we'll see what happens there.
That's what I said. I think their key might be the redemption arc, and they just want to prove.
No fans, really? Just families. Hopefully we're not having any fights in the stands. Yeah. Hey, Derek, the next matchup's really intriguing.
Yes.
That's the word of the show, by the way. I keep saying it.
I keep going back and forth with who I'm taking here. The number 2 seed Oakland Athletics and the number 7 seed Chicago White Sox. The White Sox kind of shot up pretty quickly with all their young talent that they have. Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez. And the A's have just been up there for a couple years now, just getting rid of pieces, bringing them back, but they still stay up there. So, as you said, very intriguing matchup, and I think the most intriguing of all of them here, if you ask me.
All right, so if you go back to what I just said, I picked every favorite so far. Tampa Bay, Cleveland, and Minnesota. I have a real hard time not believing in a guy that threw a no-hitter this year in former Nationals prospect Lucas Giolito, who looks like a stud, and he's done really well. And we talked about this earlier off our show, but Dallas Keuchel is the number 2 guy. He's been there. Houston would love to see him back in blue and orange. So to me, Abreu, and you mentioned a couple other names there, Jimenez and whoever there, but man, I don't know. I think Oakland does give them a nice, a really nice series, but nope, I'm going to upset here. I'm going pitching. Giolito and company with Keuchel, they're going to upset the A's.
That's interesting. Because I think it's about pitching too, but I'm going with the A's because their bullpen is one of the best in baseball. The starters, they've gotten a lot out of their starters this year. Jesus Luzardo is one of the best young lefties coming up. Mike Fiers has been around for a bit. He made a run with Houston, but it's the bullpen. Liam Hendricks, Soria, Jake Diekman, who I believe came up in the Phillies system.
I know that name. Yes, I do.
He is a hard-throwing left-hander, 100 miles an hour. He only recently gave up his first run all year. Petit, Trevino, they have a lot of depth, and even Mike Minor may be coming out of the bullpen as well. I don't know if they get enough hitting. I think you could be correct. Giolito may shut them down, but I think they win. Chapman. Yeah, I think they win the next 2. I don't know if Keuchel completely scares me. Or I think probably Dylan Cease is probably going to be the third guy going for him. But Simeon Olsen, if Olsen can hit, he is a very streaky hitter. They got a
It's all
lot.
about
They
getting
got some
hot.
good bats. I went chalk. I went chalk. Give me Athletics 3 in 3 games.
And just saying, if
Uh,
Chicago does come up with the upset, I'm looking at that matchup of Minnesota and the White Sox, and that could be interesting too.
yeah. So we'll go
Bats.
on here to
Oh
the
boy.
National League.
Here we go.
Well,
League.
so the first one may not be much of a series as most would think. Number one seeded Los Angeles Dodgers, who are way and above the best team in the NL, play the 1 game under 500 Milwaukee Brewers, the 8 seed. But the Brewers, like you said, have a lot of talent. It's just, does it come close to what the Dodgers are going to throw out there?
Well, and we saw, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, how the Dodgers are getting there. They're beating a team from either